Peter Schrager. Good Morning Football at another place, Fox Sports. Schrags crushing it as usual. See him on the weekend shows, podcast as well. Let's do the Harbaugh thing. So because they're here, and the Chargers have a lot of fun, nice people, and they're always willing to go to lunch or dinner. And I talk to them, and they're like, listen, Harbaugh's exciting, it's fun, we got the quarterback. But a lot of this is, Jim's a Michigan man, Schrags. I could see him, if there was no NCAA stuff, I think he'd stay in college. I think that thing hangs. What do your sources tell you where Harbaugh's leaning?
Yeah, the Harbaugh thing was a perfect timing for the Chargers when they're blowing out their head coach and their GM. So there's a vacuum of power. And that's kind of what you need for Jim Harbaugh. As John said, he's viewed as a CEO. He comes in, it's going to be his way or the highway, and he's going to turn you into a winner immediately. They have the veteran talent. They're in salary cap hell. If he comes in there, it's going to be, okay, let me be the boss of this operation, and it's going to be in my identity. I would say this. To J-Mac's point, he went to the University of San Diego, won right away. Stanford turned him around, won right away. Of course, with the 49ers, they went to 3 conference championship games in 4 years, won right away. And then naturally, he goes to Michigan. It might take him a little bit longer, but they ended up national champions. There's a lot to like there. Also, you think about that market that you guys are in. USC, UCLA, the Rams, the Lakers, the Clippers. Is there a Chargers fan base that is loud and vocal? No, we all know that they're always the team everyone picks in August. Would this move the needle a little bit more? Sure would. I think it would. But, Herbert and him does make a lot of sense, and it would be great, and he's got his quarterback. But anyone I talk to, and this isn't trying to make news or anything, anyone I talk to about Harbaugh, because I'm coming from the NFL side, and there's all these college people, and I haven't spoken to Harbaugh directly, is that the first thing out of his mouth this entire college season was how good J.J. McCarthy was. So if you already have Herbert as the quarterback, you're obviously rolling with Herbert. If you go to an Atlanta where he interviewed yesterday, well, there's a void at quarterback. They have the 8th overall pick. Would he be bold enough to say, I'll take the Atlanta job if it's offered, and then go from there? 2 quick points. He changed his agent this year. For years, he was with other agents, and this year he made a real move in the marketplace and went with Don Yee, who is Sean Payton's agent, Tom Brady's agent, Julian Edelman's agent, is a major player in the NFL. Okay, an NFL guy that could say, this is a point that, hey, unlike 2 years ago with the Vikings or last year with the Broncos, I am ready, and I'm showing you that by making a change in my representation. I think Harbaugh to the NFL happens now. The timing's right, especially with the way college sports is going and the headaches that are there. But he needs to be offered the job, and the Chargers have not done that yet, and the Falcons have not done that yet. So we'll see how it plays out the next 2 days. But I would think Chargers is the favorite to land Jim Harbaugh.
So, Schrags, and you and I have talked about this probably off the air, is I like Belichick, the coach, but I think Belichick, the GM, has unraveled the coach. They have had 2 Pro Bowl, in the last 7 drafts, 2 Pro Bowlers, one's a punter. If he's going to have personnel say, I'm not interested. So with that, he may want it. In Philadelphia, if he went there, Howie Roseman has so much power and gravitas, he's not going to bully Howie. But if you said there's a leader in the clubhouse for Belichick today, Schrags, I trust your opinion, what would you go with?
I would still point to Atlanta and the fact that Arthur Blank is 81 years old and wants to win so desperately, and they've got a void at head coach right now. Now, look, Rich McKay is a very powerful guy in the NFL, and he's going to have a voice in that building, and so is Terry Fontenot, who they hired 2 years ago as a general manager and retained even after firing Arthur Smith, who came in with him. That might make Belichick hesitant. These aren't my guys. I don't know who the GM is. I don't know. I've never worked with Rich McKay before. I understand that. But if I'm looking at the 2 owners, I'm looking at Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones, 81 years old, both of them. And this isn't an ageist comment. There's an urgency there. When you're 81 years old and you haven't had a chance to hoist a Lombardi in Arthur Blank's case ever, and then in Jerry Jones's case since 1996, I think there is an urgency. Now, Mike McCarthy is still employed as we speak today at 1:30 Eastern on Wednesday. And he let Jason Garrett go 2 full contracts, and maybe McCarthy goes his full contract, which is next year. But if I'm looking at 2 teams that make sense for Belichick, I would circle Atlanta or I would circle Dallas. And I don't think Philadelphia at the moment, from what I'm hearing.
The Jordan Love thing, I love listening to Matt LaFleur. It was like
go on.
It was almost as if after the game, his son brought home a perfect report card from school. And he loved his son, but he thought of him as a B+ student, and he got all A's. He was literally like, wow, I don't even, that's a dude. Like, it's almost like Jordan's been good at practice and good, but it's like Jordan went to a different level that Matt couldn't even explain. You know the inner workings. Matt's one of the smartest guys, nicest guys in the league. Has Jordan even surpassed what they thought? Because they liked him more than the media did.
They sure did. And there were signs. Look, I follow everything that's said publicly. And Mark Murphy is the president of the Packers. He really speaks one time in the offseason. It's at that shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
And he had two comments at the shareholders meeting back in June that I thought really stuck out. One of them was, now we get a chance to see Matt's true offense. And that was taken at such a slight to Aaron Rodgers. Like, what does that mean? Did Rodgers not? And it was real. Like, Rodgers does audible out of everything at the line of scrimmage and sees it. And a lot of times is freestyling, which is great, which makes him Aaron Rodgers. And he had the green light to do that. But Matt's true offense is run by an operator, someone who says, okay, coach, and is able to do what the coach designs. Second comment from Mark Murphy was, it's going to take him half the season. It's going to take him half the season until we know. And you know what? They were 2-5. They were 3-6.
Yeah.
It took them half the season.
Yeah.
And something clicked. And I think it was in that Steelers game, which they lost, but something clicked. And then Jordan Love's been the best quarterback in all of football the last 2 months, if you've been watching the regular season. And now, and part of it is the confidence that LaFleur has been giving him and giving him the green light to do more and more. And part of it is he just needed to get his comfort in the system and his comfort on the playing field. Right now, I don't think there's a more dialed-in quarterback in football, and that includes Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, you name it. And Colin, I made this point last week. You know, there are 15 different players on this Packers team that were born in the year 2000 or the year 2001. They are also the youngest team in NFL history to ever win a playoff game. Oh, and by the way, all of their guys that are on offense are either rookies, second year, or third year players.
Yep.
They don't know any better.
Yeah.
They don't know they're not supposed to beat the Cowboys. They don't have the scar tissue of all those Aaron Rodgers trips to San Francisco or when San Francisco came up to Lambeau. They are all fresh and new and wide-eyed, and they almost are their ignorance and their naivety is almost a good thing as they head to San Francisco, in which no one's given them a shot.
You know, finally, Detroit. Brad Holmes, I think, is the star of the franchise, not Goff or Dan Campbell. I think the guys upstairs, they have nailed 3 drafts in a row. This thing started bumpy with Goff and Campbell. It was like 4-19. Like, we forget that. There's a lot of bumps on this flight until they landed it. Is there something this year that clicked there? It may have just been Laporta. It may have been the draft picks. But, I mean, beating the Rams is better than people think. That Rams team should have beaten Baltimore, that crushed the Niners and crushed Miami. Like, Rams were good. Don't. That's just not a home playoff one. Rams were on fire. What do you think the key to the success here is?
It's cultural. It's cultural. And it's like any good business, Colin. If there's a toxicity in the business, or if there's people talking behind other people's backs, people are talking out both sides of their mouths, it's never going to work. They're all on the same page. And you're right. I give so much credit to Brad Holmes, the general manager, and of course to Jared Goff and Dan Campbell. But like, you worked with Chris Spielman at Fox and at ESPN before that. Chris Spielman was one of the first hires of this new organization. And they told him, you're not going to be out there publicly. You're not going to be a voice on this team. You're going to work with the owner and be kind of our liaison between the ownership group and the front office and the players. And Spielman's the greatest linebacker to ever play for that organization. And he's helped bring the culture. Mike Disner is a name that you're going to start hearing more and more about. He's their number 2 there under Rod Wood, who's the president. And Disner kind of is a business operations guy, but is also a Michigan native and left Arizona to come work for the Lions. When people leave good jobs at Fox and people leave comfortable jobs in Arizona to go work for the Lions when they were the worst franchise in football for 20 years, it's a signal to everybody else. And Brad Holmes has been that as well. I loved that scene Sunday night. I thought that was so cool. And I thought the team actually lived up to all the hype and all the expectations and all the pressure for that home fan base. It was a cool moment. And I don't think they're done.
All right. Good morning, football. Schrager, say hi to Kyle and all the people over there.
Hey, one more for you, Colin. I got one more for you. Our guy Kingsbury, he's a hot name right now. I'm just saying, maybe not head coach, offensive coordinator. I heard you throw him out there last week, but every single team that's got one of these vacancies at OC is calling me because I'm friendly with him and saying, is your guy ready to come back? What do you think? So I know you were on it last week saying he's a Raiders favorite. I'm just saying this. This might be a little lip service to a lot of fan bases. Kingsbury might be a hot name for the NFL OC jobs again.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of a little bidding war for Cliff Kingsbury. Little
Just saying.
bit. Yeah. I know Antonio Pierce and that group think highly of him. That I know. Schrags your money today. No big surprise. Fox Sports NFL reporter. His podcast, iHeart, Schrager, biggest names on the sport. Good seeing you, bud.
I love you, Colin. Thanks so much, guys.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.